I lived for a while in the Seattle CHOP district. There are certain things, it's become notorious because there was expulsion of the police by an Occupy in the CHOP district. One of the things I learned from years of experience of the CHOP district, for one thing, they have a long reach. Long before I even knew who they were, they organized a tactical attack on a campus in the city of Pittsburgh where I worked, directed at me. I didn't even know who they were. And I guess they picked up my name in the paper and made it look like they'd picked up my name in the paper. I had already been very horrifically molested by a gang in the city of Pittsburgh. They had some connection to the CHOP by way of the university system and the intellectual scene in the university system. But one of the things I've learned about the CHOP's cover operations is that they give their license to kill to the most extreme individuals who have been marginalized, meaning if you're, black, you're more likely to be tolerated for acts of unprovoked insanity. If you're a transvestite, you're guaranteed to be tolerated, even encouraged. So we have, and if you're a lesbian, you'll certainly get a fair hearing from people who prefer to see things your way. And so, a person who's white and with an invisible handicap like deafness, you might as well blow yourself away. I mean, there's no point in trying to talk to them about anything, no matter what. You can get hit in the head blindside by the Ku Klux Klan. And they will say, well, so what? Who cares? So, when you're targeted by their extreme militant fringe because you're white, you might as well forget about being deaf. They see it as playing a card chip. They grunt, well, what's your minority, what's your victim ratio, and they, no concept of any of the basic issues pertaining to innocent until proven guilty. You might as well throw it away because you're not a person to them. They believe that there's an anarchistic harmonic that's more important and so forth. And one of the things that we see with their antagonism from New York City, where they're organized for the Green Party, the South African Secret Service, German Green Party, the old Axis of Germany, and their new allies in Israel, which is all very, very real. It's the Diamonda Galas, who claims to represent AIDS victims. And the New York City police, even though they died, hundreds of them, I guess, in the World Trade Center collapse, have tolerated the fact that she posed outside the World Trade Center with her stiletto, publicly bragged, of her conscientious purpose in being involved in the attack, and it vaguely associated the anthrax with her so-called issue, which is AIDS. Now, AIDS is certainly an issue, but for her, it's a so-called issue because she is allied to the people who did it. And your choice, the people in the CHOP district, they want to see blood and guts and stuff. So, in the name of the transvestite community, so this publicly demonstrates the power to obliterate the World Trade Center and kill all of these police and all of these innocent people and get away with it by claiming that AIDS is some kind of invisible grievance. Wow. All through the history of this person, it's clear demonstrative evidence was party to the AIDS attack in the begin with. So anthrax is nothing new for her. I mean, she can release the AIDS virus, she can release anthrax, her cult can release COVID-19. And the CHOP district, believing her, will kill three Kennedys as they just did and say that they're patriots. You know, they threatened to blow up Mount Rainier with a nuclear bomb and say that they're patriots. So you have these sneak attacks. They sneak attack on me, you know, a child who was just walking to school, deafen me, and weigh me down with these evidence papers. So you see these evidence papers they deny. Paul McCartney denies that they exist. But I, he says, could have understood them. He denies they exist, he denies what they say, and he defends the person who wrote them. But he says, I could have understood them as a child. So, you know, this is the creates the invisible wizard scenario. There's this invisible wizard who's coming to get even with the United States for something they did, that he really did, that they could have understood, that he denies ever took place. And if you play that, you know, sort of over and over again, you eventually see this invisible hand, like the hand in Oliver Stone, the hand in Carrie, you know, supposedly the hand of God, you know, who holding her stiletto outside the World Trade Center, and then getting the Seattle CHOP queers to cheer her, even though she is supporting the person who wrote the papers about the AIDS attack that Paul McCartney says don't exist. Much less do they say what he claims, what they clearly do say, while accusing somebody who didn't understand anything about them and saying that they could have understood on behalf of the victims who he killed. That's analogous to having all of the family of all of the people who were killed in the World Trade Centers lining up and asking for the autographs of the people who did it. And believe me, Paul McCartney would have no problem whatsoever getting people to do that. You know, he's lying through the teeth. He's criminally insane. He's a Holocaustal hate criminal. He attacked me repeatedly in the course of my life. Has threatened to kill an old deaf man as recently as today for not understanding as a battered child letters he denies exist, who he claims don't say what they obviously say on behalf of the person who wrote them. This is a magic trick. It's a magic trick that has allowed the CHOP district to murder innocent people, claiming it is retaliation against minority grievances, claiming it is retaliation on behalf of gay people, on behalf of the people who actually did it. This is a perfect situation for the killers and the attackers. Absolutely perfect. They can kill three Kennedys and call themselves patriots avenging the victims of our society, when in fact they are defending the people who attacked our society. How is it possible, meaningfully, anywhere in the world, for a rational person to say that killing the Kennedys is a pro-American act on behalf of our minorities? Anywhere but in the Seattle CHOP district, where you have these criminally insane individuals running around with guns, putting semen in people's drinks, poisoning people dead, putting shit in people's food, and calling themselves, you know, Antifa and stuff, and liberals, and holy transvestites, working with Ringo Starr. Almost every single one of them punches the clock for Ringo Starr. Almost every single one of them. Even John Schulman, that dude who showed up in the Smithsonian for museum theft, was playing the song, the profile of me of the song. Penis Gabriel put on his album "So" on behalf of this ISIS lunatic from Senegal named Youssou N'Dour. So now Diamonda Galas has a reading on that song situation. It's a holy song, the papal infallibility of this penis. Working with Yoko Ono, it comes from the spirit of John Lennon. You know, you have one of these assholes who was in on COVID in the hit, saying that my music will be used for a soundtrack to a Stanley Kubrick movie, and he's publicly, you know, I mean, they laugh publicly in the web every day. You know, there's no police monitor. Who cares if there's a police monitor at all? They laugh about killing the Kennedys constantly, all the time. You know, they closed all of our schools. And they did it publicly. Nobody cared. I mean, it's as if they didn't do it. It's as if they didn't exist. And part of the reason is because this song, so brilliantly insightful, you know, that they manufactured me in advance for it. It has for Diamonda Galas the proof of the enemy within me. And people say, what was going on with you? You know, you were licking this girl at night and she was withholding, you know, any kind of like return. Didn't make any love to you, but she was nude and you were licking her like cleaning a cat, she said, right? And you got stuck in this thing about her virginity being, you know, a taunt, as though they wanted you to date rape her, right? You know, so they say, oh, what's this about? Why would you get so hung up on date rape her if you didn't want to date rape her? Well, I wanted her consent to make love because I was, you know, with her every night in the nude and licking her, right? And so she said no, and so I said okay. But what made me wonder about what was going on was this horrible, horrible suffering, this terrible pain. And, you know, they said, oh, he's obsessed with rape, he's obsessed with rape, he's obsessed with rape. And they got that going. So that it drowned out what was really going on, which was I was trying to figure out, well, why is it causing this terrible suffering? Now we know that they had planned it. They implanted a nerve agent. They even documented it. His name's Wattenmaker. He's in neurobehavioral research. Now, if you look at the social history of doing something like that, you see D.W. Griffith's Birth of a Nation. They have this black man, they pour peroxide in his mouth so he's vomit. And these brilliants, these geniuses from Black Lives Matter see that they're doing this to someone who was raised under the wing of Martin Luther King, who happens to be white. And they're like, well, we won't help anybody who's white. And they don't comprehend that that's the intent of the person who did it, to show them to be just as disgusting as the white people in high. So it's a matter of what Vicky Fenari, who was among them and a friend of this woman who was behind what happened to me with the nerve agent. She made a movie called The Strong. That's what they're after. They're advocating for the strong. So the CHOP is these people who see themselves as the minority elite of the strong. That's the point. You know, the white weak is what you are. You're not a victim. You're a weak. You know, and so they have this like brilliant. You know, he's so smart. You know, he can see everything. He knows all. Who actually is pimping the idea that helping the people who made Birth of the Nation is advancing the black man. You know, and it's, oh, how smart he must be to not comprehend that he is serving the purposes of the very people who created slavery, who murdered Martin Luther King, because he sees himself as the strong black man. You know, no, and he's going to be one of them. He's going to be part of the elect, you know, and it's brilliant thinking on the part of people who want to destroy America and promote the idea of an arc of the strong as a human race free of all of the people who we don't need because they're old and they're trampling on flowers and stuff. So they get out the coal machine and they puke, puke, puke coal into the atmosphere until there's so much coal in the atmosphere that the earth starts getting hot. And they say, you devils are going to go to hell. You're abortions. I mean, the whole idea of it comes from the Rolling Stones mania and their alliance through Jack Nicholson with Ronald Reagan and Donald Trump. Clearly, they don't really care about abortion, but it's a moral issue for most people on some level. As a result, it's perfect for Adolf Hitler's revenge. And black, brilliant geniuses of BLM say, no, that's not true. We will kill the Kennedys and they purify America of the white, liberal, weak. It's absolutely demented. And the 30, that's what they used to say at the end of a journalistic research, is that in Jay Inslee's state of Washington, the CHOP district, UW, dialectical UWism, Tacoma, and so forth, the 30 is they are criminally insane. 30.